Inequality in the education system has always been there. It's just how it was made, and it will not be like fixed just by changing one or two things. It's going to take time.
Do you think inequality is holding us back?
I think inequality is holding a lot of people back, especially minorities.
When we talk about equality in education, I see that the problem most of the time is that everyone has their own definition for what equality means, or what it means to be equal or equitable in education. And in order for change to occur, we all have to be operating on some kind of grounded definition of what that means. I can tell you my definition, but not everyone agrees with that. The difference between equal and equitable is equal would be all kids get a pair of shoes, versus equitable is all kids get a pair of shoes that fit.
The state government wants to provide equality in education. As the statement released by Kentucky Department of Education states, that a belief that creating safe and collaborative spaces for respectful dialogues where all voices are heard is important.
Do you think inequality will ever disappear from the school system?
I mean, even if it is gone, we can't really just forget about how it used to be. It's going to take a lot of work, though. It's kind of deeply enrooted in the structure of our education system.
Based on a survey that we did, we found out that parents believe that inequality exists in every single country and state. About 52% of parents believe that K-12 education system inequality is a problem in Kentucky. And about 20% of parents believe that it's a huge problem that needs to be looked at right away. When asked, has your parent ever experienced inequality or unfair treatment in school that you know of in a survey, about half of the parents said yes.
Schools are being tasked with something that is probably more of a societal issue than it is a school issue. But like many things, schools have been, asked to fulfill a gap that exists in society that shouldn't have been theirs to begin with. And they're doing a dang good job.
In a survey, we asked the parents how they were trying to prevent this unfair treatment and how they are trying to end inequality in the school system. When asked how are you contributing to school system to make it fair for everyone, about 56% of parents said by paying taxes, and about 36% of parents said by donating and funding some amount of money or resources to the needed schools. About 76% of parents think that poor counties are struggling more dealing with inequality, which is why they're donating more to schools that are in desperate need.
I don't think there is one solution. I think we could start with changing our mindsets and trying to move forward and past all of these differences. But it's going to take more than just one or two things to fix.
If you had to name one thing that would solve inequality in education, what would that be?
I think we have to seriously look at the way schools are funded. I think it starts there. Looking at, if we're talking about public schools, and every public school should have equity of resources, then we have to look at how we fund them through city taxes and property taxes.
We can see from the data collected from educationdata.org, funding for K-12 education in Kentucky totaled around $8.8 billion, or about $11,000 per each student. Of that, Kentucky K-12 education receives $993.8 million, or $1,238 per pupil from the federal government. State government funds a total of $4.75 billion, or $5,916 per pupil, and the local government funds a total of $3.06 billion, or $3,811 per pupil.
The biggest problem, or the biggest effect from underfunded schools and in those inequitable disparities would be elementary school. I think because elementary school sets such a foundation for literacy, math skills, everything in elementary school is so foundational that if you don't have the resources that you need, if you don't have high quality teachers, if you don't have enough teachers, then I think those gaps start really early and they're hard to overcome once they get to middle and high school.
What's something you're doing as an administrator to help inequality fade away in education?
Most of the time, what I've seen is it has to do with opportunities. And a lot of times in education, you hear about achievement gaps, like, oh, well, kids are struggling, achievement gaps exist. And that's true. But what we really need to recognize is that achievement gaps are typically opportunity gaps in disguise. People don't achieve because they don't have the opportunity, or they don't have the resource, or they don't have XYZ in order to be successful. Let's just take the internet, for example. Someone in rural part of the state or a rural area may not have good internet. And so that's, going to hinder their opportunity to participate in something, maybe college or whatever that may be, online classes. And so that achievement gap suffers because then opportunity is lost.
In conclusion, we found out that funding school districts equally might help end inequality in K-12 education. For example, in Kentucky's richest county, Jefferson County, most of the funding comes from the local government, whereas in Alsea County, one of the poorest, most of the funding comes from the state government. Because Jefferson County can generate much more income than Alsea County, students of Jefferson County receive more funding. More funding means more opportunities. Funding helps bring modern technology and better teachers in that area. A possible solution to this problem can be to create a new entity that will help distribute educational funds equally. In this system, funds are collected from every local government designated for education, then added up with other funds for education, and then divided between each student currently enrolled in Kentucky's public school equally.